Okay, now that we've got this far, we're going to try to find some handles to put on here. Now, I just picked a piece of G10 up. Whatever you've got laying around the house that you want to use, you've got some G10, you got some micarta, any of that kind of stuff. Rubber works well. I like a nice hard rubber, like a rubber sole off a boot. But the only thing I would steer clear away from is certain woods. If you've got some wood that you say, oh, I think that's beautiful, but a lot of times wood will crack, it'll dry out, and it'll break. You have to use a very seasoned wood. Most knives that you see, they only use coco bolo and ironwood and snakewood and things like that, and most of it has been treated or has been kiln dried and then pressurized, but those will hold up pretty well. But if on a knife like this, you really, I would suggest trying to find some kind of artificial material. Basically, there's nothing to this. I'm just going to fit these on here, and then I will block these out. And when you do this, you might want to try to cut as close to, a big line. Don't make it right against it, but leave it big enough that you've got plenty to work with when you're actually trying to fit them. Something similar to what I just did here. Then do the other side. Like I said, wood will work, but you have to have the right wood, and you don't want to go through all this and the knife break on you the first time you start doing it. And then so basically I just got those kind of laid out right there. That's just what I'm going to cut out. Now I am going to cheat a little bit on this. I'm going to go ahead and cut these out with my saw instead of using hacksaw. But I will trim it up and things with you with just the hacksaw. That way you'll know how to do it. It just kind of speed the video up for you. I went and cut these out. Now I've got two just kind of chunks. Like I said, I was telling you, I'm just going across where the line that I drew. I made it kind of big. That way I knew how to fit it up. So all you're going to do is take your knife and then lay that down. Make sure it fits everywhere, that you don't have any problems. You can move it around, and I already know that my bolsters aren't going to come, or my handles isn't going to come that high, so I'm going to move mine up, give myself about that much extra on the bottom. And then if you've got some C-clamps, that'll work. I got some vice grips here. I usually use some other kind of clamps, but most people don't have those. So I'm just going to show you just the vice grips. And you've got your two 1/8" holes. I'm just going to kind of get in the center and then clamp them down, and then go over to the drill press and drill those holes. I'm getting ready to drill these holes for the handles here. But any of you that are doing this, that you're using a wood, okay, this is a trick you need to do. You probably know it, but I'm just going to show you anyway. Always get another piece of wood. This is a piece of a micarta that I'm going to use, but put another piece of wood underneath it. That way when you're drilling into it, it doesn't crack. You can do that, the same kind of trick that you use with plexiglass and things like that, but you want to drill down into that. Even if you've got a hand drill or anything like that, just do the same thing. Just drill down into it with your thing here. Just go ahead and drill down through and into your other piece. That way it doesn't fragment out or break or anything like that. It will just hold a little better pressure instead of it just busting out, making a big old ragged hole. Okay, we did that one. And all we do is make sure you know which side's which. You can mark them. Mine will only fit on one side just the way I cut them. And the material I'm using, I know this is the rough side. So now I just go and do the same thing. Put it on here. Put your clamp on here. And drill this hole. Now, the reason I didn't drill this back hole for your lanyard is sometimes stuff will shift around. You don't want to drill all 3 holes. The 2 holes, we'll put a pin through these, and then we'll drill that. Okay, now we got our handles. Now get the pins that you picked, whatever you wanted to pick, and put those into your knife. Okay, got both of those in there, and now I'm just going to fit this handle that I just drilled onto this. So then you got them on there. I had to tap mine just a little bit, but I didn't use a hammer. I just used a little screwdriver. That'll do. And now we're just going to do the same thing. You're going to get this block up here. Drill your lanyard hole. Now you got a lanyard hole there. Now it'd be a little more tricky sometimes to get all this to go together. I usually like to push my pins back down so I don't have so much to deal with. And I'm just going to put this side on and get it clamped if I need to. Just making sure they're all the way through, that they're holding good and tight. Clamp those together. Have your handles basically fitted to your knife. Now we're going to move over to shape this top, and I'll show you how to do that. What I've done is I've went ahead and put one side on here and got it set up. Now a little while ago I showed you that we had already a good idea of where my bolsters were going to, my handles going to stop, and it's somewhere around in here. Now we have to finish the top of these handles so we can get down to being able to do it. Now you can do it either way. You can go ahead and put this on here, scribe this line. Now that we've got it real close, we know it fits on the knife, and you can take a hacksaw and cut to the line. Don't cut all the way into it or you'll make it too small. But you basically want to transfer this line to here to here. Try to make your arc just a little bit. You got that on there. So now you just pull the pins out. That's the reason I was saying make sure they go through the knife finger tight, because once you start adding all this stuff, your holes aren't completely straight and you don't have a precision drill press or something. Sometimes they'll kind of do this as you go through, so sometimes it'll be hard to get them in there. So now that we've marked around that, all we're going to do is just try to take this line and then transfer to it. I don't know if I have enough light for you guys to see or not. So you go from here, you're just going to transfer this line. So you're just going to come up kind of a nice round, however you want to do it. I don't usually leave anything flat and straight. I like to round everything off till it'll be comfortable. So now that you've got that, basically what we're going to do is we're going to trim all this off however you want to do it. You can use a little coping saw, or you can use your bandsaw if you have one, or you can use your hacksaw. A hacksaw will work just fine, but that's what we're going to go do now that we've got one. You can go ahead and you don't have to mark the top part again, but go ahead and put this side on and then do the same thing. Cut my handles out just a little bit, cut the excess off. If you've got that far, then we'll just go on. There's your knife. You just we've already transferred that line that we were talking about. So here's the handle. So basically what we're going to do is we got to get the top of this one set up the way we want it on the knife. So we'll go back to your vise. Get that thing down as low as we can get it, and especially if you got wood or something, don't over tighten this or you'll break it. Just go back to your files and So now I took it down to about where my line is and got it pretty well smooth. Now, don't worry about if you're off kilter a little bit, if you're over to the side. Once you get the other handle on there, then we can start correcting that kind of stuff. So we'll get the other handle put on there, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, I put the handles together, both together. Now you can see the side that we've already filed. All I'm really going to do is I'm just going to transfer this line with an X-Acto knife, and instead of a marker this time, we know we have to get down this far just to get to our handles. So you're going to mark it right here, and you're going to do the same thing, is file down until you get to your line or pretty close to it, and then I'll come back and show you what to do after that. Okay, now you can see I've got them put together, and I've got this one pretty close to the other one. So we're just going to put this back in the vise. However we can with the pins in it. About as low as we're going to be able to go. And we're going to match them up a little closer. Now I've got them pretty close. Now we're going to go back to the same way we did the blade. We're going to draw file this the best we can. Okay, so we're going to turn this thing and get kind of square to it. And I'm going to use a little smoother file this time. And we're basically just going to kind of come straight back and forth to it and try to see if you're hitting the whole thing. If you're not, it means you got a low spot. Like I'm a little lower on this side. So I've just got to kind of keep working it until I get them worked down together. Now, we got that. Now, the other part that's kind of important right now, because this is almost a finished piece for this. So you're just going to sand it and get this smooth. Now, what I like to sand with is I got an old Craftsman file that's in a fixed deal. This one actually just will not come out. I smoothed it down. I just leave just enough that it kind of bites into the paper just a bit, but I mean, it won't even file your fingernails. And then I smoothed out both sides, so no matter if I slip or something, I can't gouge anything. So just get you a piece of sandpaper, and I usually wrap it on my file, and then I just sand it. Now you can take this to whatever grit you want. This is a piece of 400 grit that I've got here. My vise is set that it gets tighter when I crank the main handle, so it doesn't move very well. And after you get that, just line up all your lines if you want. I like to get everything nice and uniform. So that's the top of our knife. That's actually a finished. That's the finish that is going to be on the top after they've been glued down. Now we're going to move on to the blade again instead of the handles.